Am I the asshole for not saying espresso? My husband has recently got interested in coffee as a hobby. He began spending all his free time scouring coffee forums, looking for tips, and has recently ordered his own plants. I am glad he has found something fulfilling in his life for once. That is not the issue. The issue is that it has gotten to the point where he has started policing my language. I say espresso like espresso. English is not my mother tongue, and it's just easier to say that way. He insists that I work on it to say it the right way. I have no desire to do this, and I told him so. He now says that he feels attacked by my words, but I feel attacked by his. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, quote, English is not my mother tongue. How is that relevant since you were butchering an Italian word? And edit, since apparently this stupid joke did not get downvoted as expected but is the top comment, I guess I better add a judgment. Everyone sucks here. I was well prepared to go not the asshole, because if you try and are unable to pronounce a word correctly, that is hardly your fault. But after OP's comments, I'm somewhat doubtful how hard she's really been trying, since she doesn't want to waste any time on husband's hobby. So there you go. And OP replies, it's hard for me to pronounce it the way he does. I guess I should have said Italian is not my mother tongue. Hey OP, former barista here. Everyone is like this when they first start getting into coffee. It's like college kids who take their first philosophy class, and suddenly they are talking down to everyone and acting snobby because they are learned, and smart, and so much better than you. Every new barista has the, oh my god, it's espresso, not espresso, say it right, phase. The phase tends to pass as the person in question learns and grows, and stops being quite so snobby. Some folks never grow out of it, and they are the ones that I side-eye. Language is for communication, and everyone knows what you mean. It is a common pronunciation, and hubby can get over it. Not the asshole. It's funny that you blame your pronunciation on English not being your native language, when most English speakers also say espresso. Espresso is Italian. That being said, this is so petty. That's what I was thinking. Both are being pig-headed about this. Everyone sucks here. Everyone sucks here. Learning to say a word differently and correctly is a tiny ask, especially to show a little bit of interest in something he enjoys. My partner knows what parts of a computer do because he cares about the things that I do. That said, he's being a dick and y'all need to chill. Both of you. It's an Italian word though, so English being your mother tongue has nothing to do with it. Personally, I prefer it when people correct my pronunciation of foreign words. It is your right to willfully mispronounce something, but you're the asshole for making this your hill to die on. I knew someone who deliberately mispronounced the name of a big company. They were petty in other ways too. You really can't make this one change to support your husband in something he cares about? Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for not doing the laundry correctly? I moved in with my girlfriend a couple weeks ago, and so far things have been going okay. For context, she works as a nurse and I'm currently looking for a job. Yesterday while she was working, she texted me and asked me to put away the laundry that she did that morning before going to work. This already annoyed me because I had just spent an hour applying to jobs and just wanted to relax and watch TV, but I said okay. I never really cared about my clean clothes looking nice or anything while I'm not wearing them, so I kinda just cram my clothes in my dresser. I don't have a ton of clothes, so they fit fine. She, on the other hand, has a lot of clothing. So I finish doing the laundry and go back to watching TV. When she gets home, she starts screaming at me and telling me that I didn't do her laundry correctly. She was mad because I didn't fold her clothes and just crammed them in the drawers, and she couldn't get her drawers to open easily. I told her that's how I do laundry, and if she didn't like it, then she should just do it herself. She started screaming at me again, and we went to bed angry, and she left for work today without talking to me. Am I the asshole? I don't feel like I did anything wrong, I just think that she's just being difficult. OP has offered the following explanations for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I didn't do my girlfriend's laundry correctly, and 2. She was working and couldn't do it herself at the time. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. Are you a child? Annoyed because you wanted to relax after applying to jobs? Are you unemployed? Because laundry seems like the least you could do if you were not working. You just crammed her clothes into the dresser? That is hella lazy. It would have been better to leave them in a laundry basket than that. Like, an hour isn't even a whole lot of time to spend applying to jobs. You're the asshole, obviously. You're unemployed and you can't even do the laundry properly. I would love to know your age and gender, as well as your partner's. You're the asshole, quit being lazy and fold the laundry. She's a nurse, is probably on her feet all day, and you were too exhausted to properly fold laundry from sitting down applying for jobs. The fact that he was annoyed at her for asking him to switch over to laundry that she did before her, I assume very long shift, is making me cringe so hard. It's like saying, I'm annoyed my significant other asked me to put away the dishes after they washed them. I know they're literally working to pay the bills right now, but I need a break from job hunting for 2 hours. My dude needs a wake-up call. Strategic incompetence. I just saw this term last week on this sub, and it seems to fit you very well. Do a job poorly so you won't be asked to do it again. It's a great way to be living on the street a few days from now. No TV for you then. You're the asshole. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole? I didn't consult my wife about a decision regarding my inheritance. I, 27 male, inherited a house from my parents after their death. I wrote it off in my daughter's 2-year-old's name without consulting my wife, 23 female. My daughter will get it after she is 21 years old, i.e., when she gets a job that makes her financially independent. Until then, it'll be in my guardianship, and in case of my death, the guardianship will be transferred to her godparent, my best friend, or my lawyer. No one except me, my daughter, and my lawyer can access the money within it. In case of her death, my lawyer will be looking to transfer it to someone else. My wife says that I should have thought of her first instead of my daughter's godparent. I told her that inheritance is not marital property, and I did not think that it was required of me to consult her about my own inheritance. She was pissed and said that I should be trusting her enough to make such decisions with her. Am I the asshole? Edit, we had a prenup stating that inheritances are not marital property. Edit 2, godparent cannot withdraw the money without explicit permission of one of my siblings as witness, and even with their permission, it has to be used completely for my child's immediate needs only. I have multiple witnesses on the agreement/contract, so it's an extremely lengthy process to take out money if you do not have a legitimate reason concerning my child. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I might be the asshole because I did not consult my wife about such an important decision regarding the inheritance and our daughter. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. Not because of what you wanted to do in regards to the house, but because talking to your wife is not about asking permission, but is working as a team to build a life together. Communication is key, and you just proved to your wife that her opinions and feelings on the matter are so insignificant you didn't even bother to tell her. This man doesn't see his marriage as a partnership in any sense. He never once addressed their kid as our daughter, only mine and my, to the extent where everyone assumed that she must be a step-parent. He clarified in comments that she's not. I can't imagine blatantly devaluing my wife's role in our child's life or ability to hold their best interest at heart to the extent that he refuses so much as a discussion related to it. She is the mother of that baby. This behavior is insane to me. He's probably one of these men who think women mainly are here to give them children and heirs, and then can be discarded freely as their role is done. You're the asshole. Why did you get married and stay married if you can't trust your wife to help make big decisions? My biggest concern is that it doesn't seem like he trusts his wife not to try to take this from their daughter. Why can't she be a guardian to her daughter's inheritance? Does OP not trust his wife to keep their daughter's best interests? Reading his comments, the dude wants to get back at his wife for not discussing her inheritance with him. He didn't explicitly state that, but he's using it as a justification and seems salty about it. Welp, I hope I'm still here when the divorce post comes out. You're the asshole, of course. Even worse when you had to tell us what your prenup said. That doesn't change the fact that you made a major decision without even consulting your wife, and one which involves your child. Your relationship doesn't exactly sound peaches and cream if you were thinking so much about your child, best friend, and lawyer in the event of your death, and so little of your wife. What's really stupid is that if he's in the US, then an inheritance already isn't marital property. The prenup did F all to change anything. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for choosing to work at home when my Zoom meetings annoy my husband? My employer has given the employees the choice of working at home or going into the office. Personally, I feel that it's safer to stay at home given what is still going on, and it's about half and half of my coworkers who have decided to stay home or go to the office. The problem and conflict is that I often have 2 or 3 one-hour Zoom meetings a day. I use headphones, but I do talk during part of them. I close the door, but the noise bothers my husband, who is in the other room. He is also at home all day since he is unemployed. He keeps telling me that I'm selfish to stay at home and bother him when I could choose to go to work in the office, and he says that I'm just too lazy to go to the office and waves off my health concerns as paranoid. I do feel guilty because he gets really upset by the noise and says that it's hard for him to focus on stuff that he's reading when he hears me talking. Am I wrong? Should I go into the office a few days a week? I'm getting a lot of comments that I should tell my husband to look for a job, but he told me that he doesn't want to until COVID is over, which is a bit weird since he says that I'm paranoid about it. Overall, he makes me feel guilty a lot, which is why I came on here. Lately, he's been getting upset that our place isn't clean enough. We don't sleep in the same room, but he comes in and inspects my room every day, and today he was upset about the noise again. Now in the comments, the question is, what is he doing that requires you to be out of the house? This guy sounds like a real winner. Opie needs to kick him to the curb. Shake my head. The things people put up with never fails to baffle me sometimes. But we are all in a different situation, and Opie, I hope things get better for you. You deserve better. Right? I don't know, maybe it's just the rose-tinted glasses in effect, but it's wild that they wrote that whole thing out and immediately didn't see a problem there. Not the asshole. The "he inspects my room" is immediate red flags, without even the fact that he refuses to look for a job because of the pandemic while mocking OP for being concerned of an office environment, and the fact he literally sits around reading for fun, and that's somehow reason enough for OP doing Zoom elsewhere in the house to be unreasonable of her. Like, what is he? OP's parent? He's unemployed. If the mess bothers him, he can clean it, or he can respect OP as an adult and respect her private space and leave it alone. I don't normally consider having separate rooms a red flag, because everyone has different needs and boundaries. I personally would prefer to have separate rooms when I'm in a live-in LTR, but everything else going on, I'm really wondering what the reason is. It seems OP's partner really doesn't want her around, but wants to live off her as long as he can, and is probably cheating. Nothing has made me more cynical about marriage than seeing Am I the Asshole posts day after day of women asking if they're the asshole for doing the barest of minimum for themselves while giving everything to their husbands, especially when their husbands are the ones demanding more. Lol. The man is unemployed, stays home and reads, and calls you lazy for not going into the office and bothering him. Tell him to go to the library if he wants to read, not the asshole. He needs the space for the mental gymnastics that he's doing to encourage OP to go to the office because she's just paranoid about the plague, but somehow the plague is too concerning for him to find work. OP abuses manipulate emotions so well that you can feel like you are the one with issues. Hopefully this is a wake-up call. You deserve better. Am I the asshole for telling my husband to have his therapy sessions somewhere else? Me, female 34, and my husband, male 33, live in a 2-bedroom apartment. He started recently attending online therapy. Reasons? Well, no reason in particular. No losing family member, no recent traumas or accidents. He just says that he feels too overwhelmed with work. He works a demanding job, but I won't mention it because I don't want him to be judged for it. He wanted to let off some steam and attend therapy. I 100% encouraged him and said go for it. However, these therapy sessions have been happening for a period of 3 months, and he'd have 2 sessions in just 1 day. He says he found another therapist, which is illogical to me, but anyway, he would stay in the bedroom for hours on end, preventing me from coming in. I'm talking 3 to 4 hours a day, and whenever I walk into the bedroom, which was only twice, the laptop gets slammed shut, and my husband would just stare at me confused. I pointed out how rude it was to do this to his therapist or therapists, and he aggressively replied that what's really rude is the way that I barge in while he's trying to have his therapy session. He told me if I walk in one more time, he will take matters into his own hands. Yesterday, I had an emergency and had to get inside the bedroom to get my pad pack, which I keep in my closet. I kept knocking, but he didn't answer, so I walk in quietly, but he immediately shuts his laptop and looks enraged, and then says, "Oh, so we doing this? Okay." Then he gets off his chair and starts lashing out, saying, "I'm struggling here, and you don't even pretend to give a crap anymore. It's called privacy, and you should respect that. Now get out." I get out, and he locks the door. I was fuming at this point, but managed to get my pad before he kicked me out. Out of respect, I waited till his session was over, and started arguing with him about how utterly bad it was of him to lock me out of the room that's supposed to be a shared space between us. He said that he had to lock me out because of my barging and snooping and continuous disrespect of his privacy. I straight up said that he needed to start having his therapy sessions somewhere else, since it's not okay for him to keep the bedroom busy for 4 hours. That is just too much. He said I could go in and take whatever I needed before he locks the door, but I won't take all my stuff out. That is not logical to me. I told him he could take his laptop and really go anywhere else, whether in the apartment, coffee shop, car, or even the parking lot. He shamed me, and he said that this is his apartment too, and that I was being negative and disrespectful instead of supportive and understanding of his situation. We've been arguing about it for hours until now. Now I'm leaving this up to you. Am I wrong for asking him that? And edit, one thing I'd like to clarify is that it's not every day, but multiple days a week. And 2, some of you here guessed what his work is, and I agree that he could use some therapy, and I supported him when he first started, and also suggested the other room, since he is a very private person, and has issues opening up about whatever struggle he is dealing with. Still, he thinks I'm not helping and causing him more stress and anxiety. Now in the comments, "Hi, therapist here. It is absolutely not normal to have 3 to 4 hour sessions a day. No therapist would allow that. You need time to process what you talked about, time to think, time to prepare for a next session, time to not think about anything in between sessions. A normal rate would be 1 hour each week." I see 3 possibilities. He either is getting ripped off by someone, he's in some kind of group session where he has to be online several hours a day, which normally is only for people on the brink of a residential admission, or he is lying to you and doing something else on the computer. Either way, how is he affording this? One session could cost between 50 to 100 euros an hour. I would advise you to talk to him. What is he doing all of these hours? Is there maybe a part of it that he can do outside of the bedroom? I suspect there is more to this than meets the eye. And OP replies, "Thing is, he never answers any questions I ask about the type of therapy he's attending, and whenever I point out how absurd the timing is, he'd say that I don't get that not all therapy sessions are the same." I'm sorry, but I don't think he's doing therapy. I think he's doing something else. or he's in a cult or something, or gambling or porn addiction, online gaming. Could be anything you can do on a phone, really. I've been in therapy on and off my entire life. Sessions are typically between 45 minutes to 1 hour. Something strange is going on here. Not the asshole, but I'd have some questions if I were you. And OP replies, yes, absolutely. That is exactly what I told him about my experience when I was in therapy years ago. But he kept saying it depends on the severity of the situation for everyone who receives therapy. If his problems are so severe that he needs 3 to 4 hours of therapy, he needs to talk to you. He is definitely lying to you about something. Either how much he is suffering or, sadly, my bet is on what he is doing. I cannot think of a reason besides major trauma, but he would probably barely be functioning at that point to have that much therapy. Also, if he was suffering that much, I can't imagine why it would be only once a week. People that need 3 to 4 hours of therapy a week probably couldn't keep it together all week long. I'm sorry, OP. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids any further after her son lied to her about me? So my sister is a single mother with 2 children, an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. The 7-year-old is a boy, while the other one is a girl. She works a lot and doesn't have a lot of money to afford babysitting, so I started watching her kids for her for free. There was an incident one day where the 7-year-old has gotten mad at me because I wouldn't let him jump on the couch. I explained to him that he could get hurt, and he threw a tantrum, which was normal. It's what young kids do. Well, around the time my sister gets home, he starts suddenly bawling his eyes out and running towards her. I'm confused, as he was just fine a second ago, but followed behind him to greet her. He immediately starts on a rant about how I had a man in the house and how neither him nor his sister had eaten at all that day. My sister was rightfully pissed off and started asking questions. I shook my head, said he was lying, and that she had cameras, so we should probably sit down and watch them. She said no, and that I needed to go before she called the police. So I left. A few hours later, she calls me and apologizes, saying she watched the footage and saw no man enter the house at all, and that she had seen that her son had refused to eat the dinner that I made them. She asked when I could come by next, and she hoped I understood the misunderstanding, but I said that I would no longer be babysitting for her. She said that he's just 7, and the kids lie all the time, but I still refused. We went back and forth over the phone, insulting each other, and that was that. Our mother thinks that I'm being ridiculous for being mad at a kid, but it's more than that. I could have gotten in trouble if the police had shown up and he was saying what he said. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. You told her to check the cameras. She refused and threatened you with the police. She doesn't get to backtrack now and pretend that everything is fine. The rational response at this point would have been to look at the son and say, I'm going to check the cameras and they better show a man, otherwise you are going to be punished. Not go crazy on the sister and threaten to call the police, because in the sister's own words, he's just 7 and kids lie all the time. Also, there was the sister to ask who was 11. Nope. What happens if the sister lies because she's afraid of her brother, or has her own axe to grind? Or worse, the sister gets punished by her brother because she ratted him out. If there are cameras, that is all that's needed without roping another kid in. Not the asshole. Most 7-year-olds wouldn't lie to that severity. His mother is allowing him to manipulate her and even threatened you with the police. She has already shown that she will take his word over yours, so there is no reason you should watch him again, not the asshole. And quote, most 7-year-olds wouldn't lie to that severity? Former teacher, absolutely agree with this statement. Sister should try to get him a bit of therapy or help through the school, or else through a private source. The mindset of his is going to get worse as he gets older and even more devious. Keep an eye on him when he visits. He may retaliate. Not the asshole, and edit to add, thanks for all the upvotes. I had no idea this would take off. A lot of people made very thought-provoking comments on this child, and it seems that there are some very disturbing possibilities as to the origins of his behavior. OP has been looking at the advice, and it seems like she'll get other families involved to help this little boy, and that is good. Current teacher, and the speed with which he concocted that lie is incredibly concerning and disturbing, and if the sister didn't have cameras in the house, he would have gotten away with it. I would be creeped out to be around that kid from that point forward if I was OP. What else might he try to pull next? Not the asshole. What concerns me is the opposite. He was upset about an earlier incident and planned to get revenge much later. 7-year-olds aren't really known for their planning and forethought. Calling up mum and saying, OP is being mean to me, she hit me, would be weird though. But waiting until mummy got home to lie to her? That suggests he's holding a grudge for quite a long time and over such a little thing. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to be my best friend's maid of honor after she told me my fiancé is not invited to the wedding? I've been dating my fiancé for 10 years and we're expecting a baby which is due in March. We'll elope before the baby arrives for legal reasons, but we'll do it in January so we'll be able to organize a small party for family and close friends. No more than 20 people. My best friend and her future husband will be invited though. So straight to the point. My best friend is getting married in a month, and she's been with her fiancé for a year, and they got engaged within 6 months. Personally, that's too rushed in my opinion, but that's her life. So if she believes this is the right man, this is her decision. Once they got engaged around April, she asked me to be her maid of honor. She then started telling me the plans about how she plans on having a huge celebration with 200 plus guests. Vaccination rates are very high in my country, and most restrictions are eased since cases are also very low. Naturally, I assumed my fiancé would be invited. My best friend has known him for 10 years, and they're also friendly. Most of our friends are married, so their spouses get an automatic invite. I assumed my fiancé would be invited too, but my BFF decided to notify me that he's not invited, literally yesterday during a chat we had. And I told her about the suit my fiancé bought. She told me, I never told you that X is invited though. I asked her what she meant by that. She said that only married and long-term couples are invited to the wedding. I reminded her that I'm engaged to that man, we're expecting a kid together, and I've been with him for 10 years, while we're also planning to get eloped in a few months. She objected and said that she didn't invite him because she doesn't see our relationship as valid if it took us so long to make our relationship legal, and how if we've been waiting for 10 years to take the next step, then our relationship bond is probably not that strong. Told her that that's not her decision to make, and she doesn't get to decide whether my relationship is valid or not. She insisted on her decision and said that I'll not invite him, I decide who comes and who doesn't. And since I don't think your relationship is as strong as it should be, you may break up soon, and I don't want an ex existing in my wedding pictures. Accept it or leave. I'm not in a mood to deal with that drama. I told her that she is being ridiculous, assuming that we might break up based on her bizarre beliefs, and I reminded her that I've been with that man for 10 years, while she's been with her man for less than 1 year, and she is ridiculous for thinking she can dictate who is serious and who isn't. I told her I'm dropping the maid of honor role because I refuse to be disrespected like that, and told her that she can search for someone new to torture, but not me. Our mutual friends have told me I'm the arsehole for dropping out of the wedding and how I should respect the bride's decision. Like, I respect it, but I won't be a part of it. Am I the arsehole? Now in the comments, not the arsehole. Holy crap, that's a bridezilla and a terrible friend. Like seriously, who does that to your supposedly best friend? Honestly, after that kind of disrespect, I'm surprised you are still going to the wedding. And OP replies, I don't think I'll go after this. If I go, I'll attend for a couple of hours for the sake of it and then leave. Don't go to her wedding and don't say you respect her decision. It is not worth respecting. Honestly, this is a friendship ending level of disrespect. Edit, I mean, she's insulting you, your fiancé, and your unborn child. That is so pointlessly cruel from someone supposed to be your friend. This. Time to make new friends. Not the asshole, but you're going to be an asshole to yourself if you let her treat you like this. Not the asshole. I wouldn't attend the wedding at all. For my wedding, we didn't invite all boyfriends and girlfriends for the reason the bride described, but 10 years engaged and pregnant. That's just absurd to not consider you a real couple. Edit. Since I'm still getting a steady stream of comments, I guess I'll clarify. When I say that we didn't invite all boyfriends and girlfriends, I mean that we didn't invite someone that a friend had been dating for a few months that we didn't even know yet. When you can only invite so many people to a wedding, we only invited people that we actually knew. In some cases, we had never even met the person a friend was dating. Anyone that was actually a serious couple was invited as a couple. And no, I don't feel bad that people were invited without a +1 because they all had plenty of other friends that were attending and no one was going to be stuck by themselves. And OP replies to this, the bizarre part is that she has invited boyfriends and girlfriends of several guests. The reason she doesn't consider my relationship valid is because it took us so long to get engaged and we are just now deciding on the elopement. Her logic is if we were really serious, we wouldn't wait that long. Then this woman is truly a contradictory joke. There seems to be a seriously lacking of logic. Not the asshole, but sadly a lot of people think like this. I would not invite her and her husband either, since they might end up divorcing. No, they probably will end up divorcing. And it will be so funny to see in 5 years the photos that were supposed to have no exes. My friend got divorced shortly after my wedding. We did the message in the bottle thing, and recently opened our 5-year bottle. We got a message from her and her ex about sticking it out no matter how hard things get. She's remarried now to a much nicer guy. Our next post is titled, Am I the Asshole? For saying in your dreams when my husband told me to apologize to his sister and her husband after they made my son wet himself. Hello. I apologize for any mistakes. I recently lost a friend and my emotions are all over the place. My son has ADHD. He's hyperactive and has a medical condition. Days ago, my best friend of 10 years passed away. I asked my husband if he could stay with my 4-year-old son so that I could attend the funeral. My husband said yes, but then took him over to his sister and her husband's house to watch him without telling me. At the funeral, I received a text from my sister-in-law telling me to come get my son after he wet himself in her house. I was all kinds of shocked and confused and had many questions in mind like, how the hell my son ended up in my sister-in-law's house after I left him with his stepdad. I called my husband, but he didn't answer or call back. I went over there quickly and found my son crying. He was also wet, and I asked my sister-in-law and her husband what happened, and they said my son was making so much noise while playing with the kids, so they put him on timeout. After that, he told them he needed the bathroom, but my sister-in-law's husband said that he couldn't go to the bathroom while on timeout and denied him access after he, my son, begged, resulting in peeing right where he was standing. I lost it on her and her husband completely. Her husband for denying my son access to the bathroom, and her for letting this happen and not doing anything about it. Her husband explained that he thought that my son, like any other kid, is old enough to hold it in till timeout was over, which was 90 minutes according to him. I berated them for treating my son cruelly and denying him a simple request. I asked how they could do this to a child with a condition when they themselves are parents. Sister-in-law got offended that I implied that she and her husband were neglectful parents. We argued, and then I took my son and went home, and my husband wasn't there. He then came home fuming, asking why the hell I berated his sister and her husband after they've done him a favor and watched his stepson for him because he had an emergency. I asked him if he was okay with the way that they treated my son, and he said no, but the way I went about it was totally wrong, and said that I should apologize to them after insulting them and their parenting skills in their own house when they were doing us a favor. I said no, they did him a favor, as I never asked them to watch my son. He said still that I had to apologize, but I loudly said, in your dreams, after how my son was treated. He was taken aback and described my behavior as juvenile for refusing to take responsibility for my actions. Things escalated, and I had to take my son to go stay with a friend. My husband kept texting stuff like how I was avoiding confrontation and refusing to admit that I overstepped, etc. He said he only expects me to come home after I apologize to his sister and brother-in-law. Now in the comments, a 90-minute timeout? What the hell? That is absolutely disgusting. Do not apologize. Girl, find yourself a divorce lawyer. Not the asshole, protect your poor child. And OP replies, yeah, which seemed like too much to me, like way too long, especially for a kid like my son. I don't use this kind of method with him, so I can only imagine how confused he was. Hey OP, I'm a behavior specialist if that'll help you in this argument, and a 90-minute timeout is bananas. It is excessive to the point of being traumatic and counterproductive. Your son should not have been denied access to a bathroom. The healthiest 4-year-old on the planet doesn't have 90 minutes between the full bladder warning signal and eruption. Your in-laws are way out of line in their parenting, and, more importantly, you never consented to have these methods applied to your child. If your husband can't get his head straight about this, your kid is in danger of having the same torturous discipline policies applied in his own home. Also, children with ADHD tend to ignore the bathroom urges until it's really urgent. My son has ADHD, and he had a really hard time listening to his body at that age. He'd be so focused on playing that when he realized he needed to go, he needed to go. Also, a timeout for playing too loud? What the hell? That breaks my heart. A short timeout for a kid who is outside shrieking like a banshee constantly seems like a good way to take them out of the situation to let them calm down until they are ready to play in a way that is more respectful to everyone living nearby, if asking them to tone it down a bit hasn't worked. Obviously, this timeout was beyond excessive, but as someone who works from home, I was very grateful to the families around me that don't measure fun by how loudly and constantly the kid can scream over the summer. Not the asshole. 90-minute timeout? Your husband is lucky you didn't call CPS. This stood out to me too. I don't have kids, but that seems like way longer than necessary. It's supposed to be like a minute a year. I doubt I could sit that long quietly as a middle-aged adult, and if a 90-year-old sits motionless for that long, somebody better check a pulse. Am I the asshole for moving out early? So a little backstory. I, 22 male, have been living with my sister, 24 female named C, for the last year and a half, with 2 additional roommates, and with only 1 additional roommate over the last half year. However, after I missed a shift and got fired, I fell into a bad mental state. I didn't work a typical retail job for 8 months, but gave her every dime I made doing freelance cleaning/art. It didn't begin to cover rent and utilities, but have since paid her back every cent for those months. I still understand her frustration about that time period because I really could have done more and tried harder. This year, we were set to have 2 additional roommates, S and X, my sister's boyfriend. During the previous year, I would rarely see C on account of her either being at work or being at X's apartment. So I thought, hey, this'll be great. Well, they ended up breaking up. On the bright side, I get to see my sister a ton more. But she's been more snippy and incredibly hypocritical about public area messes. Not just to me either. Right quick, let's talk about our one roommate, S. S is, I can say without a doubt, my best friend. We've spent more or less every minute outside of work hanging out. Recently, S confessed their feelings for me may have turned romantic, and we've slowly been testing the waters of that. This is something I told my sister. Literally, the next day, S gave C a ride home from work, who just started lecturing them rudely, telling her that us dating was a horrible idea and kept going on, despite the fact that S told her to stop. After this, C's whole behavior got to the point that it felt like you couldn't breathe around her without her throwing a fit. Recently, C and our mother started installing a bathroom in the basement, my neck of the woods. The whole house has only the one restroom to 3 people, so an additional would be great in general. I want to reiterate, I did not say anything beyond, yeah, I think that's a good idea, and I was not involved beyond that. C believed the process would be a multi-month one, but the folks that she and my mother agreed on got the entire project done within a few weeks, leaving her this $5,000 bill. While all of this is happening, S can't stand to be in the house because it has become a minefield whenever C is home and has started looking for other places to live. S told C the other day that they will likely move out in April and that I may be joining them. C seemed to take it okay, but then turned her sights on me and asked what the whole effing point of the bathroom in the basement is then, and accused me of leaving her with a $5,000 hole. I'm terrified that she's not going to find anyone to replace S, and as much as I want to move out with them, I'm already worried about leaving her with 3 rents, plus the renovation. Am I the asshole for wanting to dip early? I still love her and feel like I owe her for last year, but this behavior is unacceptable. Now in the comments, did you agree to help pay for the renovation? And unless you did, you are not the asshole here. She sounds toxic. And OP replies, I didn't. The bathroom was entirely something that she and our mum discussed. I offered to help pay for it when she said the debt was my fault, but said, you don't pay anything back. Don't lie to me. Despite, again, me paying all of last year's debt off and being on time with rent and utilities every month since I got back on my feet. Get out while you still can then. I understand she's family, and I would leave some money behind to help pay for it since you offered after the fact, but I would be gone yesterday. And now on to the update. Looking back on this first post and how it was pre-pandemic is so goddamn funny. Literally had no idea what was about to happen on a worldwide scale, but in regards to the situation outside of that, I think things have turned out alright. First things first, C ended up kicking out S on New Year's Eve. She gave them till February, but they both didn't want to be in that environment anymore, and was able to find a room with a friend that night, and successfully moved there by noon on the 1st. Looking back, S has constantly said that they are so relieved that they weren't stuck in that house when quarantine hit. Once they moved into their own apartment in February, I followed suit and moved all of my things to their place and continued to pay rent to my sister and half of S's rent until May, despite not living there. But then the pandemic hit and cash got tight. Things between C and I have been, well, strained. Anytime we see each other, we are civil, but given that we hung out on a daily basis before, I am sure she is hurt that we don't talk anymore. But the fact that she hasn't apologized in any way to S yet, which is nearly 2 years later, makes me hesitant to interact with her more than I have to. However, with S and I, it's a goddamn battle every day to not propose to each other. We made a promise early in our relationship that we would wait till we both graduated just to make sure everything works out. And honestly, what's the harm in waiting if we are still spending practically all of our time together, but have both admitted the second the other has a degree that they are getting a ring. X is still around. I think he and C tried to make it work after the initial breakup, but didn't see their lives headed the same way, so ultimately broke it off but still hang around each other or in the same friend group. Is that it? I think that's everything that was relevant to the last post. Either way, thank you to everyone who gave me advice. Moving out was absolutely the best move, and thank you all for reading. Now in the comments, oof, sorry. This made me sad because in your first post, you really seemed to enjoy spending time with your sister. I'm glad you and S are so happy though. Do you have the ring for them picked out? And OP replies, yeah. It's honestly not the ideal situation with her, but I think spending time apart is good for getting a better perspective and realizing how hard she has been on my mental health. The whole walking on eggshells crap has been prevalent as long as I've known her. It just had hit a high and was also happening to someone who wasn't used to it, and could recognize that it was bad/unhealthy. But yeah, practically. The problem is, S and I are both not huge fans of jewelry, but we are fans of tattoos, specifically stick and pokes, which we've been giving each other throughout the pandemic. The current plan is getting a basic black band to propose, and then after it's official, we will tattoo a ring on one another. The only question is which one of us is going to break and whip out a ring first. And edit, it's probably going to be me. I ordered the rings just to have them at the ready, but I'm also terrible at keeping secrets. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for telling my friend that she needs a life of her own and she has to stop leeching off of mine?" Hi. My 25 female, long-term friend, 25 female, has a history of doing whatever it is that I'm interested in at the moment. She asks questions until she's got a clear idea of what music, books, and movies I'm into, and then does a whole act of how she discovered that in front of the whole friend group. Being the pushover that I am, I'm sad to say that I've let her do this for some time, while slowly trying to put some distance between us. This also extends to people. Any new friend or even acquaintance I make should be cleared with her, and then she makes a move on them to get closer to them. She has even tried to weasel her way into my family gatherings and private events. She also, for some reason, keeps telling my dad that she's like the daughter that he would have wanted. He's as confused as I am, but we learn to laugh it off. I've recently noticed that she is rarely interested in something of her own volition. All her leads are from me. I have been getting tired of her behavior for a while. Things came to a head a few months ago when she started texting a guy, 27 male, that I've been speaking to for a while. We went on a few dates, nothing serious as of now, but I'm hoping there would be, and telling him how compatible they could be. He was confused and thought that it was me texting from her phone, so he double-checked with me. I, of course, was beyond angry, but instead of confronting her immediately, I told him to ask her why she is doing this and if she was aware that him and I were almost a thing. Her response to him was to flirt even further and say that her and I had always had similar taste, but went on to mention how he might be better off with her. He sent me the screenshots and I sent them to her and said, "You need to leave me alone. Things in my life are not up for grabs. You have leeched off of me for long enough. If you keep this up, I won't have an issue shaming you in our friend group." She got very standoffish and accused me of tricking her by using the guy's phone to make her look bad. She also proceeded to speak badly of me to our friend group. I might be the asshole because during all of this, while other than trying to keep some distance between us, I did not properly voice my concerns. She did, however, notice my discomfort at various occasions, especially my family gatherings. So am I the asshole for handling things this way? Now in the comments, not the asshole. Yes, you could have said something sooner, but this is obviously inappropriate behavior, and you have good reason to suspect that she has known that all along and isn't a hopelessly oblivious amoeba. OP replies to that, "I was hoping she would catch on to my discomfort and the timing of me trying to move away, but she would never acknowledge that." That's not how communication works. It is hard, but sometimes the kindest and nicest thing you can do for people is to be really clear about your boundaries. Hints don't work. You have to use your words. And remember, just because someone is upset doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Which is why I wouldn't judge the friend for taking on OP's interests and boundaries. But a guy? Everybody knows that is off limits. The moment someone does this, they deserve a one-way ticket out of your life. Not the asshole. Share the screenshots with your friend group immediately. Create a group chat with everyone except her and put them out there. She sounds disturbed, like she thinks she can somehow replace you in everyone else's eyes. Now that she knows that she has been caught in a betrayal, she has got nothing to lose. She might tell lies to get people to cut you off. Telling them the truth with evidence is the best way to preserve your own relationships. Yeah, OP needs to get ahead of this. Agreed. This seriously sounds like something on true crime TV shows. OP, You might want to look into cease and desist letters / legal help to start a paper trail to stay safe. And now on to the update. Firstly, thanks to everyone who commented to help me out. Some of it was tough love, but I read every comment and had a chuckle at a few. But it also helped me realize that the issue wasn't as simple as someone copying my interests. So after posting, I rang up one of my close friends to let her know what has been happening. She seemed appalled at how my friend made a move on the guy that I was seeing. She also confided in me that she often keeps telling her how good and well my life is, and how she wishes either her family was like mine, or her job was like mine, etc. She thought it was just harmless wishing, but when everything was put together, it just seemed so unhinged. I also spoke to my dad and mum about how unnerving it was to have her try and do all the things that I do, when they told me that once, a few years back while I was completing a work experience training in another city, she offered to come and stay at my house to keep them company. They honestly thought she was joking because she lives in the same city with her family, and my training was only for 6 months. So, with this new information, I decided it was well and truly time to cut all contact with her. I have let my friends know that she is no longer a part of my life, and to warn me about plans that we were both a part of, and most of them seem to see this coming. I have also decided to stop being around her other close friends. My friends have also told me that they'd keep her from knowing anything about me and my life's updates. I was the one who brought her into this specific friend circle. A few of them already did not get along with her, so they were cool with not hanging out with her. After not texting her back for a while, she texted me to say, "Are you seriously going to let this one guy take away our years of friendship?" Something along the lines of that, and I just said yes. She's kept texting and calling constantly, and eventually sent a message saying, "I hope you and the guy don't work out," and then blocked me. I had refrained from blocking her because I did not want to aggravate her or have her show up at my house. But after she blocked me, I blocked her on all social media and told my parents what happened. So anyway, I feel better not having her hovering around my life, but I'm sure she is going to try and initiate contact sometime, but this time I have decided to stand up for myself. Now in the comments, I'm happy for you, but I'm also afraid for you. Hopefully she will move on to something else, and she probably will. Do you have security cameras? Do you always make sure your doors are locked? And does she know where you work? OP replies to that, "Yes, I have recently moved back in with my parents as my work switched to a work from home format, and this place is equipped with security cameras, and we have 2 German Shepherds, which I am pretty glad about." Whoa, be careful. She might just bring her, just adopted for no particular reason, German Shepherds to your house. With the same names and even color patterns. What a coincidence that would be. Good for you. It is lovely to have an update, so thank you for that. I am glad that you have gotten so much support from your family and friends. I hope you can continue to live a happy and healthy life. And our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for not wanting to hang out with my stepdad's long-lost daughter?" My stepfather found out that he had a daughter just after the pandemic started. It seems that he had a relationship with a junkie, and she didn't tell him that she was pregnant. She just abandoned the child with her parents and left town, and they didn't know who the father was. That is until I, 17 female, gifted my stepfather a DNA kit as a joke. This is all my fault. He keeps talking about her and how good of a kid she is, and that he could have never known, and so on, all the time. Anyway, with the pandemic winding down, knocks wood, she's coming over to visit and he wants me to do stuff with them. Like, they're going on a hike and to the beach, etc., etc. I don't know why he wants me there. Like, I've done all this stuff before, and all I would do is make things awkward. She is also a bit younger than me. He is sad. He kinda talks about wanting me there sometimes, but is not pushy. My mum wants me to go with him. She's telling me to just suck it up and to spend time with them, and it was not a big deal at all. Weird. I feel like I don't belong there. I don't want to make it awkward. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I feel a bit guilty though. As Mum said, it is just one day, and it's not like I have better things to do, and I do enjoy the things that they're planning to do, and I feel like I'm just being stubborn. Now in the comments, well, if you don't want to, you definitely don't have to. So no assholes here. But I would ask yourself this, what is the cost or benefit here? It may cost you a few afternoons of time, and maybe a bit of awkwardness, but on the other hand, this young girl might be looking for a family, and you might be able to help out with that. I'm guessing your dad wants you there as a bit of a buffer too. Just having another girl around her age might just make it way less awkward for him too. Again, you have no moral obligation to do this, which is what I'm basing my answer on. But if you were a friend of mine, I'd advise you to at least give it a shot, because what's there to lose here? I don't know. Isn't there some sort of moral obligation to at least be open to supporting the people we love? And it does sound like OP loves her stepdad. This isn't one of those situations where she hates him and has already drawn strong boundaries around the role that he can play in her life. She feels like she effed up by giving him the kit, but she did an amazing thing. She brought together a parentless child with a loving adult who didn't know he was missing out on knowing his own daughter. And that's epic. I suspect that OP is feeling threatened by the existence of a bio-daughter who might steal her stepfather's love by virtue of having a blood tie. That is a very understandable insecurity, and I hope she can tell him about her fears, and maybe the whole family can start therapy together to help navigate the surprise arrival of his bio-daughter in their lives. I'm sure Mum is probably dealing with some of her own feelings about it too. But I think OP would be the asshole if she preemptively avoids his daughter and refuses to get to know her. She should at least be open to the idea that they could have some kind of relationship as people who share a significant relative. I think OP would be wise to ask for small meetings before jumping into a big all-day events like hikes, but I think it is important for her to show up for her stepdad this way. It would mean a lot to him if she could lessen the friction of a momentous event in his life. And now on to the update. I honestly thought I would get a not the asshole judgment, and when I got minimal amounts of pushback, I abandoned the thread for a few weeks. I did read some of the comments, and I came back to it a bit later and read them while I was calmer. I think I was being very insecure about their relationship. I felt that it was inevitable that he would care more about his biological daughter, and I was kinda resigned to it. But I guess I didn't want that thrown in my face, if that makes sense. He met with her once before I realized that I was being really childish about this. She came over last week and I asked him if we could spend time together. He was really happy, she is a sweet kid, and she's hella smart. I thought they would have this special bond. They get on well, but there are still pauses and awkwardness. It's silly, I know. I guess he treats her like he treats me. And yeah, that's about it. It was not this huge deal that I was making out in my head. I was scared, I think. Now in the comments, this is a really nice update. You showed a lot of maturity taking in criticism, working through your difficult feelings, and then putting kindness first. I'm proud of you. If you haven't yet, I would really recommend explaining all of your feelings that you told us to your stepfather. If you can tell him that you were sorry that you were resistant to meeting her at first, that you were feeling insecure about your place in his life now that he found a real bio-daughter, tell him how much you love and value him, and if you see him as a father or father figure, add that as well. Explain how your feelings about his daughter changed once you had more time to process, and how you were feeling now. Parents can use some love and reassurance too, even men and dads. Knowing that your struggle was out of how much you care about him will likely touch his heart. And if he knows that you are feeling insecure, he can reassure you. He will also understand, and likely will no longer feel hurt or confused. I think it would be positive for your relationship. Unless you've already done this too, then good for you times 2. Am I the asshole for picking out the peas from my dinner in front of my mum's boss? Hello, I'm 20 and I live with my mum, 48, in the UK. Mum hosted a mini dinner for some colleagues. Her husband has a big house and a garden where we sat. I don't like dinners and eating with strangers, but I had to sit with them, which was a little bit stupid. They made food that I don't like. It had peas in it, and I don't like peas. My mum knows this, but I wasn't allowed to eat other stuff because it would be making a fuss, and there was no other time to make other things. I was not allowed to make something myself either. I picked out the peas from my dinner to feed the ducks at the pond close to my stepdad's house because I know that ducks like peas. They shouldn't eat bread because that's bad for them. I put all the peas in a little cup with my spoon. Mum's boss was sitting opposite of me and asked what I was doing, so I told him. He was silent for a while and then said okay. We didn't talk a lot, but sometimes he asked me a question and I answered. At the end, he gave me some more peas that he had removed from his own food. I asked if he also didn't like peas and he said, I do like peas, but I also like ducks, so they can have my peas, which I think was nice of him. He also gave me £5 to buy ice cream for myself when I feed the ducks, which was also very nice of him. We didn't talk much, but I think he was a nice man and I liked him. But when he left, he talked to my mum, and she came to me and she was angry or upset. She asked me if I spent all dinner picking out peas, and I said no. I also ate the pasta bits, but there were lots of peas to pick out. She asked why I did that in front of everyone because that's very rude to do during a dinner. It shows that you don't like the food and are not interested in the guest. This is exactly what I thought, so that's true. Mum said that she understands that it's not nice, but if she says that it's important, like she did before dinner, then it really is important and I should keep that in mind. They were people who deserve respect and who feel put off by others touching their food strangely or not engaging with them. Mum's boss told her before he left that maybe next time I should eat something else because I didn't eat much. I'm not a big eater, so it's kind of normal for me, but he knows that of course. But the point is that he said something negative to her that could have been avoided if I didn't pick the peas out of my food. I didn't think about this, I understand that it's not a good thing, but my mum was genuinely upset, and I think that's a little bit much. It's just a dinner, and he was a nice man. I don't think he's angry at her. I was just wondering if I'm not seeing something important here that makes it an asshole thing to do. Am I the asshole? Thank you. And edit. I'm autistic and I don't like peas because of the texture that makes me feel bad. I'm dependent on my mum because I'm not able to live on my own yet, but I am learning. I didn't realize that could change the context of the story until it was pointed out to me. Thank you for your insights so far. Now in the comments, not the asshole. I'm 33 and I hate peas. They literally make me gag. I pick them out of my food. Hell, my dad is in his 50s and picks his out too. I think it's sweet that your mum's boss saved his peas for the ducks. If he felt like what you did was rude, he wouldn't have done the exact same thing. My husband calls them pea cooties, and while we have a rule of a no thank you bite, if it's something you've never tried before or don't particularly like, you eat a small spoonful to honor the cook or at least try something new. Peas are exempt from that rule. I make them just for me. Not the asshole, and as a fellow autistic, I absolutely love this. What's so amusing about it is that, as usual with neurotypical people, your mum was so busy worrying about social rules and propriety that she missed the important details. She thinks her boss was put off, but the details of your story say the exact opposite, that he liked you very much. I've been mentoring other autistic people and parents of autistic kids for a long time. Part of what makes me good at what I do is that I can recognize when people empathize with us and when they don't. Your mum's boss clearly found you interesting and relatable. This was indicated by the fact that he not only took an interest and asked you questions, but that after pondering your responses, he chose to engage with you further by sharing his own peas, explaining that he too liked ducks and wanting to treat you to an ice cream. Perhaps he has autistic family members of his own and recognized your neurodivergence. Or perhaps he just found you pleasant to be around. Either way, he was not put off by you at all. Further, I suspect that his comment to your mum was not meant as a put-down at all, not even to her, but as a gentle suggestion that it was not necessary to force you to eat something that you didn't enjoy, and that he would have been okay with you eating whatever you needed to. This too suggests that he may have someone in his life who is autistic and to be sensitive to food aversions. Her boss sounds like a lovely man. You are absolutely not the asshole, and actually sound like you were very discreet and behaved perfectly reasonably at this dinner party. You should not be expected to behave like a neurotypical person, only not to disrupt others or engage really rudely with them, which you totally didn't. And out of anyone, it seems only your mother was fussed by any of this, and for no good reason at all, since you really didn't bother anyone. And OP replies, "Hello. Thank you for your nice comment. I think he was a very nice man, and thinking back now, I appreciate his behavior. It is too bad that I didn't say that to him. I hope his comment on my mum was indeed meant in a gentle way. Maybe my mum was just stressed after hosting. She's usually okay with how I eat." And someone replies to OP, "You sound like such a sweet person, and so does he. Maybe you could get a cute thank you card and write a little note in it, telling him how much you enjoyed his company at the dinner, and thanking him again for giving you his peas for the ducks and the ice cream money, and how much his kindness meant to you. I'm sure if you showed it to your mum, she would be very happy to give it to her boss for you." And now onto the update. Thank you very much for your insight. I appreciate all the comments and also the awards. I think that's a very cool thing to receive. Some comments said to talk about it with my mum, and I did it and it went very well. She said sorry and she said that it's not my fault. She explained to me how it went, and I'll try to tell it as short as possible. Mum was very stressed because she never hosts dinners. She wanted her colleagues to like it, and they requested the recipe. She forgot that I don't eat peas because she was too busy with her colleagues. She wanted me to eat with them because at her colleague's house, his kids also ate with them. She didn't want to make a fuss about my autism because sometimes I'm rude when people ask about it. She said her head was all over the place all evening. I said to her that's why I could have made my own food. She said that was difficult because there was no time for that. I didn't realize because I'm not good with time awareness. I asked her to communicate with me next time and be more clear about what I can or can't do. She said she will, and said that I can help cook next time too. Almost every comment said that her boss was nice. He probably wasn't angry or upset with her. I told this to my mum. She said sorry to me again because she wasn't upset at me at all. She was embarrassed because she tried to get me to behave normally, and she shouldn't have done that. She took it out on me on a whim. I also said sorry because I didn't realize that it could have been important for her work status. I just thought that they were like friends. She said it was okay because I didn't make a big fuss and I didn't get loud or walk away. She's proud of me for staying at the table and also thinking about the ducks. We concluded that we both learned things. I learned things because I now know more about work dinners and manners. She learned things because she now knows how to communicate and explain more to me to avoid stress. In the comments, people also said that her boss might have experience with autistic people. I asked my mum, and it was a little sad. His little brother was autistic, but he died 10 years ago. It made him sad because he loved him a lot. He told her that I should eat things I like next time because it upset him to think that my mum was worried about appearances so much that I had to be uncomfortable during dinner. He also said that dinner was really good, and that he's really happy to have her in his team at work. He's a good person and a good boss. I sent him a thank you email with my mom. Last thing is that I fed the ducks the peas. I think they're happy about it. The thing with the ducks is that they don't say that to you, of course. I got an ice cream with 2 scoops at the pond. I also got one for my mum because I had money left. It was a little bit melted when I came home because it was 5 minutes of walking, but she still liked it and she said that it was amazing. Thank you for reading. And now in the comments, as someone who had pet ducks, I can confirm that those little quackers not only liked the peas, but they loved them. They are the ultimate duck snack. After my ducks discovered that the freezer was where I kept peas, I couldn't open the freezer without being mobbed. And OP replies, "Hello, I'm glad to hear that. It's funny that your ducks knew that so well. They are very clever. All the ducks came to me instead of others because I had peas and the others had bread." After a few visits bringing peas, they will likely recognize you as the supreme treat giver and rush over, especially if you wear similar clothing like I do. It makes it easier for their ducky brains, which aren't built to recognize human features as easily as we do. And they might even be coaxed to take them from your hand with a little patience and stillness. And OP replies, "Wow, that's so cool. I will definitely try this. I always wear similar clothing. I hope that they will one day recognize me. I would be too busy for them to eat out of my hand because I have tics, but I will at least be their feeder friend. Thank you for the cool info. I love it." And they reply to OP, "My pleasure. And you never know. Depending on their disposition, they might not be startled by tics after a while. Park ducks can be a little skittish of sharp or sudden movements and noises because of monsters who chase and kick at them. However, if they recognize you as safe and trustworthy, they won't care what you do. My ducks were very suspicious of any sudden movements that I made, but after a while they just sort of got used to it. They wouldn't even acknowledge when I would scream like a banshee, running and flapping my arms at wasps. Neurotypicals think that we find animals comforting because they are easier, and generally better, than humans, but that feeling goes both ways. Animals appreciate many of the things that neurotypical humans find annoying or hard to put up with. They love our regularity, routines, and consistency. They like that we let them decide if they want to be touched and approached because we know how awful unwanted contact is. Likewise, they appreciate that we aren't full-on, needy, and demanding of their time and attention. We enjoy their company the same way they enjoy ours respectfully. Like us, they didn't get the manual and don't really understand the weird, illogical human rules. It is much less stressful to have uncomplicated, sensible expectations. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for yelling at my mother and telling her to leave?" Since I was like 5 to 6 years old, my mum started making comments about my weight and restricting food and bringing me to a nutritionist because she was worried about my weight. I have memories of that age feeling bad because I thought I was fat and ugly. It's crazy because when I see pictures of myself at that age, I can see that I was a perfectly normally weighted child and I wasn't even overweight. In my teens, she would constantly tell me that I had to lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos, always. She would constantly put me on weird diets, like the goddamn cabbage soup and that kind of stuff. She would buy me clothes too small in the hope that I would lose weight. In my teenage years, I also started having acne, and she would comment all the time on my pimples. She would jokingly say that I was a corn. I don't know how to translate that. Like, in Spanish, the seeds of the corn are called the same as pimples, granos. So it means basically your face is full of pimples, etc. Like, she has this sense of humor which she says is dark humor, and I mean yeah, sometimes it is funny and I can laugh about myself, but sometimes it is just so hurtful. So from like 12 to 15, I felt so bad about my body. I just wanted to hide it. I would wear baggy clothes, and like, she was always telling me that I should be more feminine and thinner and more this or that, but I didn't want to show any part of my body because I hated it. Then when I turned 17, I moved away to another country to study, and I finally started developing a healthier relationship with my body. For the past few years though, we have lived in the same city, and the comments about my body have not stopped. During quarantine, I actually took some weight, and I am now slightly overweight, and I have started CICO and exercise to regain a more toned body. So on to the issue today. She came early this morning to do some exercise. We were walking, and everything was fine, but then out of the blue she says, "You have so much cellulite on the back of your leg." Y'all, I snapped. Like, I fully lost my crap. I started yelling at her to shut up. I told her I didn't want to hear another effing comment on my body, and she went like, "No comment on your body? So I can't tell you that you're beautiful?" And I kept yelling. I said, "You never effing tell me I'm beautiful. You tell me I'm fat, or my posture is crap, or I have pimples, or that I have cellulite. Get the F out. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear from you, and find someone else to do exercise with you." I also told her that I don't tell her she has wrinkles, or her hair is dry, or whatever stupid crap about her appearance. So why does she always say that? Because I was yelling and really mad, she kept saying that I'm hysterical, and that she was just worried about me. I feel like the arsehole. Am I though? Now in the comments, not the arsehole. She is abusive, and you deserve so much better. Your reaction is absolutely fair, and I'm so sorry you've had to deal with that. Not the arsehole. She is saying that you are hysterical because she doesn't want to admit that you were right. She says she was worried about you? What's worrisome about cellulite? People who are skinny have cellulite. Athletes have cellulite. It is not a health issue. Not the arsehole, but your mum clearly is. Sounds like you reached your limit and lashed out. Your mum is not worried. My guess is she's projecting her own insecurities onto you. Honestly, it'd be best to move out ASAP and cut contact. Not the arsehole. It is an extremely screwed up thing to fat shame your child. Sorry I yelled, but Jesus Christ. And not the arsehole. Demoralizing comments are not a sign that someone is worried about you. It sounds like she is projecting. Time to say bye to that toxicity. You don't need it. And now on to the update. In my previous post, I couldn't really explain much because of the character limit and because I was so angry, so I think I left a lot of things out. The thing is, my mother and I are super close, and she has supported me in more ways than I could tell. She has been there for me at really dark moments, and I really love her, and I know that she loves me. I think in my other post it looked like she was a witch, and I mean, she does say those things sometimes, but she also does kind and caring things with me, so going no contact with her is definitely not what I want. So, to the update. I wrote her a 6-page letter explaining how I felt. I told her it really hurt me the way she speaks to me, and that I felt that it was abusive because it was like she wanted to tear me down. I also said that I was unwilling to talk to her until she goes to a counselor to try to sort out why she says those things to me. So today we talked, and she suggested we go together to a therapist, which I agreed to. We talked a lot, and she told me she had no idea I felt that as a kid, and that we went to the nutritionist only once because my pediatrician suggested it. She also apologized for making me feel bad, and said she really wants to work things out with me because she loves me, and she hates to make me feel bad. I know she means it, and I know I'm not perfect either, so I'm happy that we will do the work to have a better relationship. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks to everyone who commented and shared their histories with their moms. You helped me a lot. And now in the comments, glad things are looking up and she's willing to go to therapy. Please still take care of yourself, OP, and be wary of her slipping back into old habits. At the end of the day, even if she didn't mean to say those things to hurt you, it was very abusive what she was doing. I only say this because my mother is the same way. Would make very hurtful and controlling comments my whole life that gave me a ton of issues, but was so supportive in everything that I did and holds so much love for me. She was very apologetic and sorry once I finally confronted her about it, like genuinely shocked that what she had done was hurtful. We went to therapy and things started looking up, only for them to come crashing down again because her change in behavior was only temporary. I'm hoping the same thing doesn't happen to you, but it's just something to keep an eye out for. If it does, consider going low contact as opposed to no contact, but remember to protect yourself first and foremost. Am I the asshole for not wanting to take down my rainbow flag? My girlfriend's parents are visiting us for the first time. I am bi and have a rainbow flag. It's cute and I love it, as it took a long time to come to terms with the fact that I liked men too, and even more time to be in a place where I could come out. She wants me to take it down while her parents visit. We have met a few times, but I haven't really talked about it, and they have assumed that I am straight. She wants me to take it down so as to prevent avoidable conflict. She understands that her parents are in the wrong, but she just wants me to pull it down. It's just a flag, and it's not like it has any impact on my life. I am being stubborn here. It wouldn't really hurt me to take down the flag. I know I'm running the risk of ruining the evening by not taking it down. I feel I am being insecure here, and I should just pretend to be straight for one more night. She misses her parents, and I feel like I am being too stubborn about it. Now in the comments, not the asshole. And let me give you some advice. She is not the one. The one would never ask you to take down your flag, or to pretend to be someone that you are not, unless it was to keep you safe. Not even for one day. I'm not saying to break up with her. I'm not saying it's over, and I'm not saying that she's bad, but she's not the one. The one will be proud of who you are in front of everyone because she or he loves you for who you are. You'll meet them one day. Not the asshole. You can take the flag down if you want. If you don't want to have the conversation today, or if you decide that you don't want to have that conversation with her parents at all, but it should be your choice. Pretending to be straight isn't a small ask. It is a big one, and you have got to ask yourself how long she expects you to do that. Is she telling you that she just isn't ready for the fallout right now, or that she'd prefer just not to have to deal with your sexuality in perpetuity? Look, I'm bi, and I haven't bothered coming out to my partner's parents. It's not important to me, as I'm rather private, and they are/were older, conservative, etc. I don't hide who I am, but it also doesn't tend to come up. But here's the thing. I made that choice. He never asked it of me, and I know he'd have my back if it came up. That's very different from being asked to closet yourself for someone else's comfort. You need to have a discussion with your girlfriend about this issue going forth. If you take the flag down, is that part of her expectation that you continue closeting yourself for her around her parents? For how long? Does she expect you to do this with other people too? And what happens if you don't want to? This issue is not really about this flag. Make your choice for today, but don't avoid the underlying discussion. And if your choice is to fly your flag, be proud. You don't have to closet yourself for anyone. And if she can't see why it's a crap thing that she's asking, that is a huge problem. And now on to the update. I took the advice given to me and held firm in not taking down the flag, but what happened was the closer her parents' visit got, the more stressed out that she got. I couldn't really watch her be this upset when I could do something about it. I took it down. I told her I did because I loved her, but we'll have to talk about this later. She seemed extremely relieved. The visit was okay, but she was still stressed out and zoned out for the dinner. She blamed it on work stress. I dropped the subject. I knew there was something there that she was not telling me, and I needed to give her time to process it herself. This week she told me she had feelings for girls too, and that she had been caught making out with her girlfriend in high school. That year had been hell for her. She had been threatened with one of those camps, and she had to lie and throw herself back deep into the closet to survive high school. She cried a lot when she was telling me this. It must have been a very traumatizing experience. She also told me she feels incredibly ashamed of not coming out sooner, and yeah, those people had done a number on her. She apologized for exposing me to them. We have a lot to talk about and discuss, but yeah, I'm feeling happy that she felt comfortable enough to come out to me. I feel she wanted to date someone in the alphabet mafia so that she knew that she would be supported when she wanted to come out. I love her. We have a lot to work through, and I'm not really interested in putting up with her parents ever again. They can F right off. She's planning on getting therapy. And now in the comments, I'm glad that it worked out the way it did between you and your girlfriend, and I'm with you. Her parents can just F right off, along with any other parents who'd even consider sending their kids to conversion camps. That is disgusting and vile, and those things need to be outlawed. Hopefully she'll consider going low or no contact with her parents, and this is a hill to die on. Good for the both of you on talking it through. I'm so angry about her parents, but love is winning today. And OP replies, I struggled with my parents. They disapproved of my lifestyle, but they still told me I was their son. They still loved me. They have come around now, and even that screwed me up. She had it much worse. I try to be chill, but this has my blood boiling. I really like how you handled this. Sometimes being kind is more important than being right. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for denying my 7-year-old food? My son is going to be 7 in 2 days, and he weighs 95 pounds at 4'1". A year ago, he was 63 pounds. He's on medication that does cause you to be hungrier than usual. We just switched him a few days ago to a medication that hopefully doesn't do that, but so far, I have not seen any improvement. He typically has 2 breakfasts, snacks a lot throughout the day, and has at least 2 dinners. He's just always hungry, especially at bedtime. I stopped buying most junk food, but there is still stuff to eat. I am worried about his health as well as what kids will do and say to him as he gets older. I try my best to say no when he wants more food, and I know that he has eaten enough. I know he's hungry, but he must be eating at least 1,800 calories a day. When I do give in, I try my best to give him healthier foods that he would eat, but that usually consists of fruits. Most times he wants a bagel with cream cheese or a hunk of salami. My wife does understand he has a weight problem, but wants to give him whatever he wants to keep him happy and full. She gets mad at me for judging him on his weight and thinks I'm embarrassed by it. She also gets mad at me for saying no to him. Am I the asshole for being concerned about his weight and saying no to him? OP has offered the following explanation as to why they think they might be the asshole. Denying a young kid food when they are hungry is an asshole move, but I want him to be healthy and not get made fun of for being overweight. Now in the comments, info. What does his doctor say? OP says, appointment next week. This was not an issue at his last checkup at 6 years old. Wait, so you talked to the doctor about switching his medication, but not about his weight and dietary habits related to that medication? Everyone sucks here for not speaking to a doctor about this 20 pounds ago. OP replies, we spoke about the weight gain. It's the reason we switched his meds. I haven't mentioned this before, but he's on meds for anxiety and impulsive behavior. He is on serious meds for that. I'd be looking into a new pediatrician. I have a fairly serious depressive and anxiety disorder and have been on medications for over 20 years. My doctor still requires office visits every 3 months to check how the medication is working. In my opinion, prescribing a child these types of medications without frequent office visits is irresponsible. By the way, my doctor was a pharmacist before she went to med school and still maintains both licenses. She is greatly respected in our community. So much so that a couple of these employees at my pharmacy have told me how good she is at her job and that I'm lucky to have her as my PCP. I only added this info because I feel that if a doctor pharmacist insists on seeing her adult patient every 3 months to check on a medication's efficacy, isn't it even more important to monitor a child? Most medications are not tested on people under 18, and virtually never on children under 13. Mental health drugs are usually trial and error with adults, and often take several tries to find the right ones. Children's bodies and brains change daily. It follows that they should be watched closely. OP, I hope it's clear that I'm not placing this on you or your wife. You're in uncharted territory and are placing your trust in a doctor. I'm just worried that he or she isn't being responsible enough with your child. I wish your family all the best. Not the asshole. There's a huge middle ground between bagels with cream cheese and hunks of salami and more balanced meals. Both of those things are calorie dense but low in fiber and nutrients. Your wife isn't doing him favors by giving him what he wants either. She needs a visit with a nutrition specialist referred by the pediatrician. Childhood eating habits plus obesity pave the way for the rest of your metabolic life. And now on to the update. I wanted to share an update on the situation. I appreciate a lot of you taking the time to respond and give me some perspective. I first wanted to clarify a few things that came up a lot. The medication he is on was prescribed by a specialist, not his pediatrician. I also made a big mistake with his height. He was 4'1" at last 6-year-old physical. He is certainly taller, but I'm not sure how much. He is overweight, but not obese in my opinion. He doesn't have rolls or man boobs to give a better idea. Just thicker all around. He's an active kid and a picky eater. The first thing I did the next morning was apologize to my son. I told him I was wrong to say no to giving him food when he was hungry. I explained going forward that after meals, he can have a healthy snack when hungry, and he must drink a full glass of water to get more if he was still hungry after the snack. We also agreed bagels and salami after meals will not be an option, and he understood. But that night after dinner, he was hungry and asked for salami. I said we agreed not to do that, and while he was upset at first, we came to an agreement of a glass of water and 2 pieces of celery with cream cheese. He drank and ate and asked for seconds, which I gave him, and that was it for the night. I also spoke with my wife and apologized for not being on the same page and saying no. I told her the plan and she was on board. I also called his pediatrician and we have a telecall tomorrow prior to his checkup to voice our concerns. While I didn't like some comments about my kid's behavior, I understand this is Reddit and accepted them with a grain of salt. My kid does have anger issues, but he's a great kid when things are good. I don't expect people to understand it from a Reddit post as opposed to being with him 24/7 for 7 years. We are committed to finding him the best care regardless of cost. Thanks again. And edit. One thing I should have added that came up a lot is the misconception that he gained weight for a year and we did nothing about it. That isn't the full story, and I should have explained better. Towards the end of 2020 school year, his pediatrician put him on meds for ADHD. We both thought that he had it. The meds actually made him lose a lot of weight to a point that he was skinny. He was worse behavior-wise on the ADHD meds than off. We quickly realized this was not the correct diagnosis and we took him off. While we found new doctors to diagnose and prescribe, 2 to 3 months off everything, he got back to his normal weight plus a bit more due to being home and eating out of bedroom and not being as active as he would be if camp wasn't cancelled due to COVID. Once he was diagnosed properly, he was put on meds that helped his behavior, but the side effect was him eating all the time. The weight gain was in 3 to 4 months, and it was discussed with his doctors, but we continued with the meds that were helping. 2 weeks ago, we brought up his weight and knew that we wanted to change the meds. He is fully on the new meds as of Sunday, phased out old, and we're seeing if there will be a change in eating habits. And now in the comments, I think your son is lucky to have you as a dad, and from what you write, I think you were lucky to have him as your son. And OP replies, thank you. Agreed. Whether or not you were an asshole in the original situation, the steps you took from the next day on were inspirational. Coming up with a solid plan, making it clear and transparent with your son, and holding yourself and him liable for sticking to the plan. And making sure to be on the same page as your wife and actually talking it out. Being a good parent isn't about never being an asshole and doing the right thing 24/7. It's about being open and clear with your children when you realize that maybe you didn't do the right thing, and discussing and setting fair and reasonable standards moving on. And OP says to that, thank you for the kind words. This parenting thing is frickin' hard. Great update. Just wanted to say, maybe not celery at bedtime as it's a diuretic. Essentially makes you pee a lot. Veggies are a good choice. Carrot, peppers, and hummus? I hope you talked to your wife before you told your son what the plan was going forward, and not after, as your post suggests. And OP says, I guess I didn't do it in that order. My wife slept in, and son was up early. I just wanted to apologize as soon as I can. I was confident that me and my wife would be in agreement when I told her, and she was beyond happy with my change of direction, as well as on board. You are a good parent. I have the opposite as to where my son doesn't eat enough, and he is very small for his age, at 11, and his ADD medication makes him especially not want to eat, which we were warned about. My son gets irritated that I make him eat, but his pediatrician says he has to. It is tough parenting, huh? But so many rewards. Keep up the good work, and only you know your son and his needs. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for blocking in an Uber delivery driver?" Pretty much, I live in San Francisco and on one of the busiest streets, also known as Fell Street in Hayes Valley, if anyone knows where that is. It has an uphill incline, and I was returning from work, which means it's rush hour and the street is crowded with cars. I live in a house that has a driveway, and when I pulled in to park, to my surprise, there was a car in the driveway. I had to park my car in the middle of a lane while people honked at me and started walking up to the car in my driveway. I started talking to the guy and told him that he had to move out of the driveway, because first of all, it's my driveway and street parking is impossible on this street, and second of all, it's my driveway. He pretty much said that he's waiting for a person to pick up their meal and didn't want to find street parking. He also told me he has a delivery like 2 streets over after and is going to leave his car here till he's done. At this point, I was bewildered by his attitude and how he literally wouldn't leave. So I decided to just park in front of the driveway entrance and leave my car there. Then he started screaming at me to move my car because I was blocking his car, and I replied with, "You're gonna have to wait until I do errands or leave for work tomorrow." He started to call the police on me for blocking my own driveway. I know it's an asshole move, but I think it's pretty justified. Now in the comments, not the asshole, but you're the asshole for not recording it. You have denied us the entertainment of watching some asshole fuming in your driveway because he was being a dick. Good on you though, screw that guy. That would have been a beauty to see. Hello, police? Yeah, there's this lady blocking me in her driveway, and she won't leave because it's her driveway. I really wish I knew how they worded it to even convince the cops to show up at all. I used to be a teacher, and a parent once called the cops on me because her daughter wasn't eligible for a field trip based on her grades. They showed up and told her to leave. Not the asshole. But the dude knows where you live and park your car now. You might want to set up security cameras if you're able to, in case a brick comes flying through your window. And OP replies, "We have a lot of cameras on the property, and he shouldn't even dare to attack the building since it's considered historic. He would get in trouble with the city more than my landlord. I'd like to remind you of the existence of masks and hats. Your car is definitely going to get a baseball bat taken to it." It's SF, dude. It's totally city culture to get your car broken into or damaged, to be honest. I love that you feel if your car gets damaged, it might be some random crackhead just as much as this Uber dude. And now back to the post. Edit 1. I didn't think y'all wanted an update afterwards, but pretty much he called the cops on me. But this was around 5 to 6 p.m.-ish, and it was a non-emergency call during traffic hour, so the guy was stuck in my driveway till like 8 p.m. The cops asked me to move my car, and I replied with only if he gets towed or a ticket, cause he really had the audacity to pull this crap. So then the cops talked to him, and he ended up, I think, getting a ticket. And he was finally gone by 9 p.m. So yeah, he was stuck in my driveway for a good 4 hours. I hope he enjoyed the extra $900 I pay for this spot. That is literally the reason I got so mad. The Bay Area prices are insane, and it's a large part of my check to park here. Edit 2, since some people are worried about the fine cost, it's about $128 for the ticket. Yes, it's a lot of money. Could have been avoided if he would listen to me, and also he literally called the cops on himself. Also, as in Edit 1, I pay a lot more for that parking space. I have dealt with drivers in the past, using my parking spot to drop off deliveries, and they are usually polite and understanding. This man was on something. It was really just his attitude and audacity. And Edit 5, so I put the mortgage price amount and people started to find out my address, so I edited that out. But I will say that I'm in college, 20 male, and this is my first real-world job. So my finances are a little bad, and so are my decision-making skills. But yes, this will be my last edit to the post. Y'all have a nice weekend. And our next post is titled, Am I the Asshole? I went to a dinner without my wife. So my, 28 male, mother hosts these dinners where she usually wears traditional/cultural clothes, cooks the traditional and cultural foods, etc. She wears traditional clothes because my dad loved seeing her dressed in them because he thought that she looked beautiful in those clothes. We can wear what we want. However, since the dinners are usually done in a traditional/cultural setting, all the guests wear something culturally appropriate. My wife, 24 female, however, doesn't like wearing the culturally appropriate clothes and tells me that it's rude for my mum to host such dinners where people might feel uncomfortable. I told her it isn't even compulsory for anyone at the dinner to wear culturally appropriate clothes. Most guests wear it because they see it as a fun theme for a dinner. My mum is completely fine with guests wearing even a garbage bag to dinner. Not literally. I told her to wear what she likes and come to the dinner. She said she also feels excluded when she's the only one to not be wearing culturally appropriate clothes. So I told her that's fine and she can stay at home and my mum wouldn't feel offended or anything. I would go there, meet my mum, have dinner, and come back as soon as possible. She's mad at me now. Am I the asshole? Edit 1. My family is Polish. We live in the US, but my mum likes to host these dinners as she misses her childhood home. My wife spent her childhood in Alaska, and she is not Polish. Edit 2. This dinner usually takes place on my dad's death anniversary as a way to remember him. My mum is usually very sad on this day, so I go to comfort her. Edit 3. After my father's death when I was 3 months old, my mum never remarried because she wasn't able to get past his death. He died in a truck accident. He was walking, and a drunk truck driver collided with him. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your wife sounds like she's just hostile towards your culture, and she wants you to forget about the way that you were raised and your family's traditions. Your wife sucks, and she's the asshole. She knew about this all before she married you, and she's acting like this is a big problem now? I don't think so. She doesn't have to go, I guess, but she can't be mad if you do go. She is trying to isolate and manipulate you, which is not okay. And I just read your edits, and holy crap, no. This is a dinner that you have once a year on the anniversary of your dad's death, and she not only won't attend for your sake, but she doesn't want you to attend. Friend, I don't like your wife at all. This is a big red flag, and I'm betting this is not isolated behavior. I don't know how much you have invested in this marriage, but if your wife can't see the importance of an event like this to you and your family, I am advising you to run. This woman is bad news. Not the arsehole. But what exactly is she mad for? That you're going without her, or that you're leaving her at home? If she doesn't want to dress up, that is up to her. She can still go and enjoy herself. I personally think that it's great that your mum found a way to remember your dad, and you're a good son for supporting her. Please don't ever stop doing this. Your wife needs to understand that this isn't about her, and if she's uncomfortable, she can make other plans. OP replies to that, she's mad at me because I'm supporting misogyny by following a culture that expects men and women to dress a certain way. However, it is not forced on anyone. My mum wears those clothes because my dad loved seeing her in them. Everyone else is free to wear what they like. How on earth? Misogyny? What? OP says, yeah, women are expected to wear different clothes than men are, culturally. And? I guess that's the misogynistic part of it. I'm as feminist as they come, and that's totally ridiculous. To disrespect your culture and your mum and your dad like that makes me so angry on your behalf. It makes me sad for your family. And now back to the post, we have an update. Thank you guys for the overwhelming response. I did not expect all the love showered on my mum. I spoke to my wife about what has happened. I showed her this post and she got emotional. She said that she was an only child and it was super overwhelming for her to meet my family. As I have previously mentioned, my family is like a huge clan. About my mum, she said that her relatives usually asked her to be more ladylike all the time, and she has a bad experience with other people telling her to cook. When my mum sent her recipes, she felt like the cycle was repeating. I told her that her behavior towards my mum was still very much unacceptable. However, we agreed to let her leave my mum's home for a while to get headspace whenever she felt overwhelmed. She promised to be cordial with my mum and to try to bond at least. Am I the asshole for reducing the money I am willing to give my stepdaughter for college? I had a pretty wild youth, and one of the women that I slept with got pregnant. She didn't inform me about this, and I was oblivious of my biological son until about a year ago. He is 17 years old. I have since become a bit saner and am happily married for 17 years. She has a daughter from a previous relationship who is 18. They will both be going to college next year. We had talked about this when she was, and I had told her that I would surely chip in about $30,000. Her grandparents from her dad's side are also willing to contribute money. Last year, I told her that I may be able to contribute $40,000, but it was not a guarantee. This is a lot of money, but it took me a long time to save it. My son has not enjoyed a comfortable upbringing. He has no support, and his mother is not in a financial position to pay for college. I want to contribute about $15,000. We are running a pretty tight ship, and I don't think we can make any more cuts without it affecting our retirements and savings. I told my stepdaughter that I would only be able to contribute $30,000, and she was okay with it before she found out we were also giving money to my son. She is very angry with me, and she is being distant, more than usual. I think what I don't get is that it won't hurt her. Her grandparents are willing to make up the difference. She's going to have the same budget that she can plan to spend on college. I feel a bit like an asshole, as I'm giving her the minimum amount possible, which I had agreed on. I wish I could do more, but I can't. I don't get why she is upset. I think I'm making the right decision here, but I know I've upset her, and it is bothering me. My wife is not happy about it, but she is understanding. Now in the comments, she's upset because you have another child taking your attention and money. It is irrational, but she will be upset and quietly jealous. This kid you didn't know about is suddenly dropped into your family's laps, and this is the first of many big steps that is going to be affected by one more person in the mix. She is seeing the extra you told her you would try to do to her replacement. You are by no way the asshole for supporting all your kids, but talk to people first. Please stop having discussions with your kids about what you might be able to give them. Anything you say they might get, they will expect they will get, because you are trying your damnedest to get it for them. Those are the kinds of miracles parents can pull off. And she is seeing the future where your attention and money might continue to be split. You need to start talking to her. This isn't just money that's the issue. Her family changed without any of her input, and this needs to be addressed, both with your daughter and with your wife, not the asshole. It's also his stepdaughter, and the new kid is OP's bio kid. There might be some subconscious fears about not being seen as a real child, and she might be worried about a sudden change to their relationship dynamic, or that OP will treat his bio son better than he treated or treats her. I agree a talk needs to be had where she can voice her concerns, and they can discuss what this might mean for their future family dynamics. Not the asshole. You are being very generous to hand over that amount of cash, and she needs to realize you have other obligations too. Your son grew up most of his life without a father to support him, through no fault of your own, as you were unaware of his existence. It's time your stepdaughter realizes it's not all about her anymore, and is lucky to have financial support from so many people. Her lack of gratitude is shocking, and as you said, her grandparents are making up the difference. So what's the problem? No assholes here. I had a pretty close relationship with my stepfather growing up, but he and my mother kept their money separate, so he didn't support me financially. He also had a biological daughter close to my age who didn't live with us, and it was honestly painful for me when she received financial support, gifts, etc. from him. Something as simple as watching him write a check for her textbooks would break my heart a little. As an adult, I view it rationally. Like you, he was doing his best in a less than ideal situation. She didn't live with him, so he went out of his way to do what he could for her when she was around. But as a kid, it hurt. Deep down, I really wanted a dad, and no matter how close we were, she would always have a bond with him that I couldn't. Your stepdaughter isn't losing money or opportunity, but she is losing her view of herself as your only child. She hasn't even had time to get used to the situation. It was just dropped on all of you like a bomb. She is entitled to her feelings, and probably doesn't have the maturity to understand or express them through anything but anger. She may even be testing you by trying to push you away. If you haven't already, I would suggest you talk to her. Let her know that you were conflicted about the money, but that she is just as important to you as she was before you found out about your son. Keep being there for her, not just with money, but with your presence in her life, even if she remains distant for a while. She needs time. And now on to the update. I saw that I was not the asshole from the comments, but I did disagree with a few which stated that I had no obligation to pay for her education. I feel like I do have an obligation to her and my wife to take care of them. I did see some comments about splitting it equally, but I think that it's not fair to my stepdaughter to break the promise I had made, as she would have to change her plans too if I did that. I found comments from people who have gone through similar situations very insightful and helpful. I didn't need to speak to her, as she apologized for making a big deal out of it when she knew she was going to get money from her grandparents. I accepted her apology, and I left it there, as I felt I shouldn't try to pry when she was taking a huge step by apologizing for her mistake. We watched the Euro final together. We are both huge soccer fans, and she made some comments about if I wanted my son there, which I ignored as I felt it was coming from a place of hurt, and she was poking fun at me and not my son. It is true that I am less cautious when interacting with my son. It is not because I don't think of her as my daughter, but due to our relationship suffering every time I try to play the role of her father. I didn't want to disrespect the memory of her dad, and our relationship improved a lot when I stopped doing or trying to spend time with her, or dad her, as she told me. I think I made a huge mistake with this. I didn't ever renegotiate the implied lines that were drawn early in her teenage years because I was scared of hurting her and myself. I was a coward. I drove her to her grandparents this week, and it was mostly just driving in silence. But I did bring up that she would get to play soccer again, and I hoped that I could attend more matches this school year. She smiled and nodded and said that she would like that. We then talked about football for most of the drive back. It was nice. I think we used to do this often. It also struck me that she plays the same position that I used to play, which made me a bit emotional. My wife has suggested that we both think about family counseling. My daughter wants to do it too. And yeah, probably need to budget for that, but I think it'll be worth it. And edit, if it was not clear, I am still giving my son the money that I told him I would give him. That has not changed. Now in the comments, after reading up on your situation, although I get your stepdaughter is likely feeling jealous, I just hope your son, who hasn't had a dad or any good financial support, isn't being looked over by a kid who has been supported and loved just because she's jealous. I think you've done what you can for this kid, and that counseling is a good possible option. OP replies to that, I find it sad that both my children suffered from not having their bio dad in their life. I am not overlooking him. He is getting the money, and he is happy to spend time with me. I don't plan on cutting back the time I spend with him at all. I'm thinking of counseling, as it would be helpful, I feel. But he's getting less money from you while needing it the most. He is also more willing to have a relationship with you. It feels like he's still getting unfairly screwed over. So break the promise because he just found out about the kid due to his mother not telling him? Like, he's literally getting the dad he never had and $15,000. That's more than most kids could ever hope for. I feel happy for your daughter, but still can't help feeling that your son is getting the short end of the stick. If you get sued for back child support, you would owe him so much money. And OP replies, I know. I'm not being fair to him, however, I have promised him that I will help him with his career. He is planning to study in a field which is adjacent to mine, and I am planning to help him land internships and help him out. He is fine with the help that he is getting. He was just planning on taking student loans, and any help that he gets feels huge for him. I really wish that I had known my son a few years earlier. I could have done more for him and saved up more for him. Look, I'm glad it all worked out for your stepdaughter, but your son definitely got the short end of the stick. He gets landed with student loans and debt because you want to give your stepdaughter £30,000 because you promised. She has paternal grandparents willing to give her a lot towards her education and will likely not come out with any student loans. Just seems unfair that your stepdaughter gets someone who has been there for her as a father figure, even though she appears to not actually want you to be a father figure, except when it comes to college funds. Could just be me being cynical there though. And leaves college with no student loans. Whereas your son, through no fault of his own, didn't have any father figure and will leave college with a load of debt. This is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. He can break his promise to his stepdaughter, but how is that going to feel for the both of them? And just because the son has student loans, doesn't mean the OP can't help with those down the road if he is able. Yes, it is fair to his son. Life is unfair. If OP had known about the son sooner, things would have been different. And OP replies, her paternal grandparents are certainly not willing or able to give a lot. That $10,000 they contributed extra was huge for them. They are not rolling in money either. She will also have student loans when she is finished with school. Of course, I will try to get him more support when I can, and I don't think $15,000 is breadcrumbs. It is a lot of money for me. None of this is his fault. It is a shitty situation where whatever I do, I end up hurting people I care about. I think this is the best solution right now. I am willing to give him a leg up as my financial situation improves. Unexposed is titled, Am I the asshole for being honest with my niece when she asked me for my advice? I am gay and have been out of the closet for more than 15 years. My niece is a lesbian, and she came out a few years ago. She is 20 years old. We are close, and we talk a few times every month. Last month, she had called me and asked me for advice. She asked what my experience dating people still in the closet had been. I didn't think much of it, as she has asked me about my experiences before. She wants to write a book about LGBTQ+, and I thought that it was mostly as material for the book. I was honest with her. It is hard to date someone in the closet. It is almost as if you have to shove some part of yourself back into the closet to not out your partner. I told her that I had seen many people who started their relationships while a partner was out and the other was still in the closet, but they were able to support each other and come out and get married and be happy together. I also talked about my experience dating a man who was in the closet, and he was an incredible partner, but he was not willing to come out at all. The best outcome I could hope for was to be roommate. After some time, I started to feel more like a guilty secret than his boyfriend. I couldn't force him to come out, so I broke up with him. He had to choose between family and me, and he chose family. Nothing wrong with that. I emphasized that it was about trust. If you trusted your partner to come out in time, it was worth it. But if you had doubts about if they ever could build a life together, then it's better to break up with them. My sister called me and shouted at me for projecting my experience onto her daughter. She seems to have broken up with her girlfriend who was still in the closet. I didn't even know that she had a girlfriend. She accused me of poisoning her mind. I feel a bit guilty, as my opinion is jaded by my experiences. Had I known that she was asking about her own relationship, I would have been a bit more cautious with my words. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. Your niece is a grown adult woman, and your sister needs to butt out of her relationships with other people. This obviously weighed heavily on your niece, and she was leaning towards leaving her partner anyways and wanted your opinion. albeit she asked by being sneaky. Your sister didn't obviously understand what happened. You were asked for advice and you gave it. Your niece holds in high esteem your advice, and she made up her mind about a situation that was troubling her. She was in doubt of her relationship before she asked you, and she seeked you out. I say not only you were not the asshole, but you seem like a fantastic uncle. She's lucky to have someone that loves her and that has traveled the path that she's on. Yes, so much this. People underestimate the difficulty of young people looking for honest and mature advice. Overcoming their own barriers is hard enough, then they need to find someone close to them whom they can trust to be honest and sincere and willing to listen, which may not be easy in some families and situations. OP has done the right thing, and it is honestly great to hear uncle stories like this. Sad that your sister does not understand your viewpoint, but hopefully she will over time. Not the asshole. Your sister is wrong on 2 counts. Jumping to conclusions about what you said, and trying to control how you communicate with her adult daughter. You did nothing but answer a direct question honestly. And OP did not poison the niece's mind. She is an adult who did her research and made an adult decision. Who's to say that what OP shared was even part of her decision making? There was most likely other factors contributing to the breakup. And now onto the update. I received a ton of support from this forum. My sister and I hashed it out. She apologized for her hard words and we talked it out. My niece moved out just after and she patched up with her girlfriend. From what I understood, she is still in the closet to her parents, but she's come out to her friends. My niece seems happy. Her girlfriend is moving in with her and she is very excited about it. Some of the comments which pointed out that my sister liked her dating someone in the closet were correct. She is scared for her daughter. Understandable, but still not very helpful. I think they had a fight about it. I think my sister needs to come to terms with her daughter being out and proud. It goes to show how hard it is to come out. People you least expect to have biases may still have some, which will hurt their queer children. Some people are okay with the idea of queer people, but not with their children being queer. I am disappointed with my sister, as she has always been supportive with me, but I think a child coming out evokes different emotions than a brother coming out does. I hope she can work through them and be supportive. Now in the comments, I'm so glad that things are working out for your niece, and sorry for your issues with your sister. I hope for all sakes that she comes around. But I'm so glad your niece has you.